Hello, everybody. Welcome. Wednesday night edition of Inside the Headset, sponsored by John Jones. John Jones Real Estate. Nobody sells homes like John. As we move into right now in Rutherford County, Tennessee, we are in week 9. It comes to us on game 8. Everybody should be caught up. We're going to start tonight's show off in Helena, Alabama, as the head coach of the Helena Huskies is currently painting a garage door on this evening and enjoying himself with others. And we're glad to bring live and on the air the head coach of the Helena Huskies, head coach Richie Busby. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm good, Stork. How are you? Yeah, my fiance put me to work this afternoon. Like I told you a minute ago, I don't mind the painting. It's the cleaning I'm not real good at.
Well, I just did I hear right? Please repeat that. You are getting married.
Yeah, we got engaged about 10 months ago, and yeah, we're planning. I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my future, and then we'll go from there. You know, I've reached my years in Alabama, so every year is kind of like not that I'm getting out of coaching. It's just kind of like, you know, like every other coach that it's hit that day you reevaluate everything at the end of the year and see what's out there, and you know, that kind of stuff.
Well, there's no crime in it, and I applaud anybody that double dips. If you're from the state of Alabama and you can come up to the state of Kentucky or Tennessee, there are several positions that will be open that have already been made public. Not anything in a bad way. Some have been made because people are retiring and other things. But you know, yes, the coaching carousel, whether it's in college, it's in high school, and no, I mean, you want to, well, and two, you know, you've done it at that level, and it's not that you're tired or anything or you don't like the community, but you want to take your skill set and go somewhere else, meet some other people, and try it somewhere else. No big harm.
No, and you know, and I mean, obviously, I have a wonderful job, and I feel like I'm fairly compensated at a large school, but at the same time, you know, high school coaches we're not, you know, buying vacation homes and things like that. So as long as you have your health, you know, you have to evaluate if there's a little, you know, somewhere that, you know, you can make a little more money. Let's be honest with it. It's no different than any other profession. You know, I think sometimes people roll their eyes when they hear coaches talking about looking at opportunities to make more money. But, you know, our mortgage company doesn't ask what we do for a living. They don't care that you're a coach. They still do.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but you know, whether it's all about, you know, can you coach certain types of kids today? You know, right now you're looking at the environment, and you know of certain coaches that are friends of yours in the industry that are struggling with today's kids and how to maneuver, not during the 48 minutes while they're on the field. We're talking about all that other extra time that they're off the field and keeping them occupied and keeping them in gear and you know, focused on what we're trying to do.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that. One of my best friends that's a hell of a coach in this state has played in 9 or 10 state championships. Just yesterday he was talking about, he said, I just don't know if I relate to the kids anymore, so maybe time for me to get out, unfortunately. You know, and I was like, well, that's one thing I still kind of feel like I do is relate to the kids. You know, I have a 23-year-old and a 19-year-old, so that helps. But yeah, obviously I don't care what anybody says. It's a little different, but I don't know that it's all the kids. I think the kids are still tough. They'll still do whatever you ask them to do as long as you know you care about them. I think there's a lot of things outside of the, I guess, the practice field, I guess, for lack of a better term, that is a lot different. But I think when you really boil down to it, I don't think the kids are that much different. I think they're still tough. If you make them do tough things, you know, so I don't buy this that the kids are a whole lot different. I think it's all the outside influence is different.
Oh, the rat poison is strong out there. I mean, come on, Coach. I mean, it's stronger now than it ever has been. And, you know, to know that, you know, I'm 58 years old, and, you know, we were talking this weekend, some of us, and, you know, a kid transferring back in the 80s, like, you know, leaving one school and going to another, and physically his parents picking up, not because, maybe it was a little bit because they were trying to get the kid in a little bit better position, but A friend of mine and I were talking, and he came from the hills of eastern Kentucky, and when his dad made the decision for that family, to pick up, he was 6'5", and he was in Johnson Central, and he knew that there wasn't a lot of coaches coming up in there, and just to get exposed, he realized that here his son is a junior, and he has a chance to get with some other kids, and this other team that he was going to join up with had been invited to the King of the Bluegrass and the Louisville Invitational Tournament. And those were two Kentucky basketball events that could get you showcased if you were a decent basketball player and you performed in both of those events in one season. So that did propel that young man. He went on and he played small college ball, but he got a degree and played 4 years of college basketball. But we were talking, had he stayed where he was in eastern Kentucky, and there was no YouTube or anything like that. It was just, you were pinned by your geography. That move his dad made changed the course of that kid's life.
Yeah, and you can't, fault a kid or a parent for looking for a better situation. And, I think it's important that you also consider the academic part of it. But, I agree with what you're saying. But, like the number one player in the state of Alabama this year is from a little 1A school named Wadley, Alabama, which I don't know that I could get there. I kind of know it's down near Auburn, but he plays for a 1A school. I think back when you're talking about that, yes, but now with Huddle and all the different media things, I mean, like this kid's the number one player in the state, and whether he played at Auburn High or Thompson High or this 1A Wadley, those guys get paid a lot of money to find them. So, a little bit of that has changed. It just, but you can't fault the parents for wanting to put their kid in the best situation for the kid to be successful.
I got to ask, and I don't want to penalize this kid. I do not know him. I don't follow it like I used to. I don't. I stay focused on what I've got in front of me, and that's Rutherford County. He plays 1A ball. With him, you just seeing him, and I'm not asking you to judge him, but if the kid gets up in 6A or 5A, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
He's still the number one player in the country.
Right. Yep, that's it.
6'4", middle linebacker, tailback. Yeah, he state championship last year. I watched him in the state championship game, and I don't care where he plays. He'll probably step on the field in college and get some kind of early playing time as a true freshman. He's just that good.
Oh man, so he's just one of those kids that if you do get a ticket and you are on the sideline, especially down on the field, if he's coming toward you that 48 minutes, it's fun to watch him just perform.
Once in a lifetime player, really. I had the pleasure of coaching Ardarius Stewart, which was probably my once in a lifetime player. Finished runner up Mr. Football, and we were 2 or 3A at the time. They're just a different, breed of kid, and I don't know that I'll ever coach one as special as and gifted as he was.
Well, you look at that, and that's what you're looking. It's not to say that they'll come through Helena or anything. Those kids you're talking about, but like you said, you're not going to know what your value is unless you open the door and turn on the lights, because you can't advertise. You can't wink at a girl in the dark. You got to turn the lights on if you're going to wink, and that's part of advertising we get into. I mean, so you got to look around and throw your names and start talking to people and say, it's not being mean, but what kids are doing, coaches should have the same opportunity to better themselves and whatever it may be. And who knows? You may stay right where you are at Helena, not to say you're going anywhere, but at the same time, when you do reach those 25 years, you definitely want to take a step back and say, I'm still employed, nothing's changed. It's just that between now and ho-ho time, I'm going to think about what I'm doing.
Yeah, and like I said, our community is first class. Everything about our school is first class. But, Coach told me one time, if somebody calls you, always talk to them. It might not be the job you want now, but in 5 years, they might be the job that you've always wanted. So, you always talk to them. You never tell them no matter what situation. You take the courtesy and the time to speak to them. Doesn't mean you're trying to leave. It's also about jobs is about relationships, whether it's in the sale business or in the coaching business. You need to have good relationships.
That's how Joe Namath got to Alabama. The head coach at Maryland knew Bear Bryant. They sent Howard Schnellenberger up to Maryland. Next thing you know, Joe Namath, he's in Tuscaloosa, and he played for Bear Bryant. It was all on relationships. Well, and it was always, too, because the head coach at Maryland did not want him playing in the conference that Maryland was in because he couldn't get into Maryland. His test scores were not good enough to get into Maryland, but he could get into Alabama. And, of course, the rest is history on Joe Namath. But, he could have played college basketball and he could have played college baseball. He was a stud. Joe Namath was a stud.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Helena sitting at 2-5 the last time we talked. You played Ben Russell 10-3 on 10-3, October the 3rd. Mm-hmm. Lost 28-10. Then this past Friday night in a thriller had to be. You come up big and you get past Pelham 21-20 on 10-10. Take us through the past 2 weeks, Coach, as the head coach of the Helena Huskies. What's it been like?
Well, we went down to Ben Russell, who's been in our region, 4 out of the last 6 years. They got the number one receiver in the United States, a kid named Sandarian Morgan. He had 2 catches all night. We played really well against him, and then they got another one going to Kentucky that didn't have a catch. Our defense played phenomenal. Unfortunate part, we started a sophomore quarterback that night because our starter was hurt, and he threw 3 interceptions, 2 of which were pick sixes. And kid's going to be an absolute phenomenal player. He's just ballsy. He thought he could get in there, and the game's just moving a little faster than he was. So that's kind of the turning point. Our defense really, really played well. And the other pick that he threw, they scored on that drive. So you're talking about 21 points off turnovers. And we had the ball down inside the red zone a couple times, just couldn't get it in. And then, last week we've got, our rival, as you know, Pelham is probably 3-4 miles from our campus. Our school actually split off from Pelham, so it's a pretty heated rivalry. They beat us the first 5 years the school was open my first year, and now we've won 7 in a row. So that's the kind of the game that we circle 10 times when the off season starts, and circle it some more in the summer, and score 21 points in the second half to beat them 21-20.
Wow, what a thriller. I bet you it was pandemonium. I mean pandemonium during that game.
Yeah, and I know they felt like this was the year that they could break the streak because, like we talked about, we're playing 1 senior on defense and 2 on offense. We've got, 18 guys coming back next year, all young, bunch of sophomores, freshman kickers, and, I hear things and know people over there, and they just felt like it wouldn't be close. And we went down 10-0 and went in and made one adjustment in one of our run schemes, and came back out and just had a really great half. And that same quarterback that threw the 3 picks, he was 11 of 12 Friday night, and the one incompletion was a drop. So
he grew up.
So, yeah, it was an unbelievable atmosphere. I know my mom said she sat in traffic for about an hour and 5 minutes to get out of the place. So I think they closed the gates. Fire marshal wouldn't let anybody else in, but that's the type of game it is.
But that's what you want. I mean, my goodness, that's the reason why that's the reason why you coach football. You want to be in that one. Like you said, you circled it 10 times.
Yep.
So
when you're in a high school game that noise is a factor, it's crowded. That's how I kind of determine, communication stuff in a high school game. That you don't have to look around. That it's at capacity.
When we used to hang around with Coach Dye, he always talked about, Stoke, I don't want to go down there to Mississippi State. They got them damn bells, and they shaking them. And they shaking them from the time I get off the bus to the time I get back on the bus. They don't stop shaking them. And he says, you can't concentrate. You just can't. It's just there to aggravate you. But see, they gotten to where they do it so much, they love it. So now they can tolerate it because it's part of their environment and who they are. So, he always talked about how you hated Mississippi State.
Well, I think, as a player, obviously playing in the roar of your home crowd is special, but I heard a couple of ours talking the other day, there's nothing like, making a big play or a touchdown and the place goes silent on one side. It's almost like, I don't know if an assassin is the right word, but, you just kind of kill the crowd noise with a play. That can be pretty intoxicating as well as playing in front of a home crowd.
Oh, no, definitely, and there's some places in Tennessee that I would love to do that. There's been some people who have been able to do that in some arenas and stadiums. I have not. There's one place I've been to that I haven't been able to do it, and there's a lot of people know where that is, but I won't be ever going back there. I got news for you. But let's move on. You catch Chelsea, and you play that game at Helena, but the big thing about Chelsea is they're big and they're 5-2. That's what I see.
Yeah, they are. This is their year, loaded with seniors. They're big physical, got a big offensive line too. Two really good running backs. One's a bruiser, 220, 230 pounds, and they bring another kid in he's not little. He's a little more shiftier and got a little more speed. And this is another rival. They're probably 10 miles down the road. They're in the same school system we're in. So, it's a big deal. First time we were home, playing at home in 6 weeks. I mean, we're professional. We thought we might start a moving company on the coaches on the side to make a little extra money over the last 5 weeks, but excited to be back home. I know that. I know our kids are, our students are. So it's be a good night. Going to have to play well. Obviously they've had a lot more success than we are, but really proud of our kids. For coming out of what we dealt with the last 5 weeks and battling back to beat our big rival, and now this is probably our next biggest.
Well, the one thing about it is it's going to be, a yummy, yummy Friday night, and I mean that sunset on the hill, and the folding of the flag, and what will happen Friday night at Helena High School. I give anything to be there, Coach. I tell you what, that'll be a great game. We wish you, from inside the headset and the team and all of us and the broadcast staff and everybody, we wish you the best of luck Friday night, and good luck, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you, Stuart. We certainly appreciate you guys including us up there, and good luck to all y'all, and go Huskies.
Go Huskies.